Just Baseball Show on Monday, October 14th is presented by BetMGM. As always, I was looking over to make sure I had the date right. Jack Aram in person. We're in Arizona doing the Fall League thing. Of course, presented by BetMGM. And a reminder that BetMGM has something new for the postseason. It wouldn't be a reminder, right, because it's something new. BetMGM Sportsbook account holders who opt into the bullpen jackpot promotion and place a straight bet of at least $10 on their choice of any MLB player to hit a home run will win a share of a daily $50,000 BetMGM bullpen jackpot if the player they wagered on hits a home run that lands in an MLB team bullpen. Prizing will be paid out in bonus bets that expire in 7 days. The offer will be available every day throughout the postseason, and customers will need to place a $10 or more wager on any MLB player to hit a home run. If the player hits a home run that lands in an MLB team bullpen on that day, they win a share of the $50,000 daily prize. Make sure to use code JUSTBASEBALL for that first bet offer up to $1,500 in bonus bets if your wager loses to get started. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Must be 21 years or older, and terms and conditions apply. All that leading into Game 5 recaps, because we haven't talked since Friday or Thursday night, and an NLCS Game 1 recap, an ALCS Game 1 preview, and an NLCS Game 2 preview. How are you? Are you excited about the bullpen thing?
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I want, where do we define the line? We got to talk to our folks at MGM. Draw the line at bullpen. There could be some gray area bullpen, right?
Lands in the abyss beyond the fence, right?
We didn't have any. I feel like we've had a few.
We've had a couple.
We've had a few. Not in this last game. There was a lot of runs. I think almost had a couple bullpen bombs. They're kind of in the prime power alleys. So you got a decent shot, and you would win your bet, whatever the odds were to homer, and then you would also get those share of the bonus bets. So Pretty awesome to have that chance there. But you're going to be rooting for it through flight and then hoping someone doesn't reach over so that it lands in there.
Yeah, that is a good
What
question.
if it bounces off a fan, lands in there? I'm going to ask. Next time we have our meeting with them, I'm going to ask.
Does it settle?
Is it where it settles?
Yeah, so we watched the Corgi pick the NLCS. We watched the Corgi pick Corgi has Mets in 6, by the way.
Yeah, so if you haven't seen that, there's a Corgi that they throw a ball, it bounces it up in the air and then it goes down the stairs
to 2 trash cans.
But great example, there was a gray area there. It landed on a fly in the trash can and bounced out. That did not count. Didn't count. They ran it back again. So I'm just curious, if it lands in the bullpen, bounces out, I assume that still counts. But what if it bounces in?
I would assume it doesn't count, and bouncing in counts.
Okay, well, you got the relievers on your side, so they'll probably catch it.
Yeah, and we're also just hung up on the minutia of this.
Yes.
We've got a lot of baseball to talk about. We are going to backdate a little bit. We're going to go rapid fire through those Game 5s because, what's the point? You know what I mean? It's hey, they
That's
already
the one problem with the Friday, Monday.
Right. It's okay, we got to do this now. But we will do this because they were two pretty damn intriguing games.
Yep.
We'll start with the Padres and the Dodgers, NLDS Game 5. 2-0 LA, 2 solo homers. Kike Hernandez in the second, Teoscar Hernandez in the 7th. When you do look at the pitch 3D, the pitch by pitch, neither pitch was too poorly executed from Yu Darvish. Pitch in the second to Kike Hernandez was 95 low and in. Context is important. Kike sets up well off the plate, so that was in his wheelhouse. He got his hands extended on a pitch that was, quote-unquote, on the inside corner. The slider to Teo could have been perceived as, I think, a front door slider. It was probably just a hanger from Darvish. All in all, he made 2 mistakes that he got burned on. He threw exceptionally well, 77 pitches for Yu Darvish, but the guy on the other side was better. Yoshinobu Yamamoto was amazing. 5 innings, 2 hits. Early contact, 2 Ks. He got through 5 in 63 pitches. Then the Dodger pen. 12 up, 12 down, 5 Ks. Held the Padres scoreless for the final 24 innings of that series. This is going to be a theme throughout the show because we just watched pitching dominance from the LA Dodgers in NLCS Game 1. But NLDS Game 5, this was exactly what they needed from Yamamoto, and they got it. Credit to the Padres on an outstanding season.
Oh, my gosh, yeah.
I thought it was more of an indictment on the Padre bats. I was probably wrong about that after seeing NLCS Game 1, but I do feel like the Padres just kind of laid down offensively.
They did a little bit. I do think you got to give credit to Yamamoto for sure because what we've been talking about, the key was can he locate the splitter? And he has not been since he came off the IL.
Yeah.
And then in this start, he still didn't really have the splitter, but there was a concerted effort out of the gate, establish the fastball, and honestly throw the curveball a little bit more. And he was locating it really well out of the gate, and then mixing in some cutters and stuff like that as well. And there was still the willingness to go to the splitter, not abandoning it, even though it wasn't totally there. He still mixed in 5 for a strike, but again, still kind of struggling. It's like a 50. It's like a coin flip right now on the Yamamoto splitter since he's come off the IL. But he showed that, hey, I can get outs without the splitter, especially the first couple of times through the lineup. I thought that was huge. It also helps when the fastball is sitting 97.
So that
was a difference too. He's had a couple of those starts this year, and when he's sitting 97, he's dominant because he has the above-average characteristics.
Right.
And then that at 97 versus 95, it goes from playing like a fringe plus fastball or to a plus fastball to a plus heater. And I think that was a big part as well. If you can sit 97 through 5 innings, this is a huge development for the Dodgers in this next series as well, because if they get this Yamamoto, who can now maybe get stretched out another 10 pitches or so, this changes everything. This is the guy that they paid $300+ million for.
Right, like why can't 5 turn into 6? And I will say, adrenaline can calm a lot of shoulder issues, I'm sure.
Yes,
This guy missed, 3 months with a shoulder issue? He comes back, and I know it was a little bit shaky at the end of the year, and it wasn't necessarily overwhelmingly shaky results-wise. I don't have the results in front of me right now, but I do know that it was like, is Yama right? Like, is he good to go for the postseason? Is he ready to be that horse? Adrenaline, it is the most underrated thing in postseason baseball, adrenaline. And it turned Joe Musgrove into Nolan Ryan in the 2022 wild card
Look at it
series.
to Zach Wheeler every year.
Exactly.
It takes Zach Wheeler from one of the best pitchers in baseball to one of the best pitchers in Major League Baseball history.
Right. Like, you want steroids? Like,
there you
adrenaline
go. Legal
in the postseason
steroids.
is legal steroids. It is something that does not show up in drug tests, but, it is there. And we know that it is there. And Yamamoto, I feel like, was benefiting from that postseason adrenaline. I don't know if it made him feel any better, but the stuff ticked up in a way. Yeah, he looked like he felt a hell of a lot better. That Dodger bullpen was utterly insane. And the fact that the game that preceded that, and I know that you and Peter talked about it, was the Dodger bullpen masterclass.
Yeah.
Dude, I mean, they are firing on all cylinders, but I'm going to save some thoughts on that for the NLCS recap.
Yeah, and I think just to focus on the Padres real quick, too, and then tie back to the bullpen, because the bullpen was crazy. But before, I think it can get really easy to go down that rabbit hole, and then we'll forget to give the Padres their love and their credit here.
Right.
I think they just ran into a staff that got really hot and came up big in the big spot. But, I mean, the bats did go flat a little bit, obviously. And, it's hard to decipher, okay, did the bats go flat or did the pitching make the bats go flat? I think a little bit of both. I think the moment was big, but do you feel like the moment was too big for these guys in this lineup? No, we talked about that going in. I don't think it was that. I just think it got late quick. All of a sudden, it doesn't mean the moment's too big, but you see a 0 go up and you see another 0 go up. And then all of a sudden it's the 5th inning. And I think – you're looking at 1 run, but that 1 run feels like a ton after you see a 5th, a 6th 0. And then I think it really got late quick. Whereas the other times, the Padres felt like they were never out of it.
Right.
All of a sudden, it felt like, especially that second run came in the 7th, it felt like it was insurmountable with the way that they had been trending, going back to the game before even, with the way that this Dodgers bullpen was going. So I think it felt like they started to press quickly, and it got late on them quickly. And, I mean, you look at this entire lineup here in this ball game, I mean, it was pretty rough. They had 2 hits total.
Yeah.
One was from Kyle Higashioka, who they ended up pinch hitting for in the last inning, and then it was Luis Arias as well. But it wasn't like they got overwhelmed. Nobody struck out more than once.
No.
I don't think it was incredibly bad at bats. I think that was more of just the pitching execution and defense from the Dodgers, who, this is the team that was expected to win the World Series going into this year. Not even expected. It was almost handed to them by a lot of people.
It's handed to them every year.
Yeah,
let's
this
get
year
that
specifically.
Out of the way. It was handed to the Mets when they were that quote-unquote super team. It's been handed to the Yankees and the Dodgers many, many years.
It just felt like this was the put up or shut up moment for the Dodgers,
for sure.
And they just clicked into another mode
that
that just seemed like it felt insurmountable on the other end as well. And I will say, you couldn't ask for much more from the Padres. Darvish does everything. Right. Those 2 pitches, they weren't terrible pitches, but based on the sequencing, right? I was just looking at where they set up. They were set both times. Higashioka was set up away, and it misses in.
Exactly. Context proves that they look like fine pitches. Context proves that they were mistakes.
But if you tell me going into it, you're going to get 6 2/3 of 2-run ball from Darvish, would you take that?
Yes.
Or would you take your chances?
No.
I would take that.
I'd take
1,000,000%, especially the second time they're seeing him in the series.
Yeah.
Darvish was fantastic. It was awesome to see him just continue to show that he's ageless in a lot of ways. And then the bullpen, obviously, I mean, you had an available You had all your best hands available, and you got a scoreless inning from Jason Adam and a third of an inning from Tanner Scott, but it didn't matter because they didn't score. So, I mean, I think it was just more a testament at the end of the day to the Dodgers. And like you said, that we're going to recap this NLCS Game 1. It was point blank, just a pitching dominance from them.
It was a clinic. We are going to quickly go through this ALDS Game 5, though, that we had on Saturday. That was nice. It was a good, I land in Arizona. It's Pacific. That game is getting going at 10 a.m. We just immediately
Very weird, though.
drive to breakfast. And it's okay, let's pull up YouTube TV on the phone, watch the first 5 innings of breakfast, come back, watch the end of it. But this was I don't want to say a whimper from the Detroit Tigers. It was a hell of a game that I think looks like less of a hell of a game if you just look at the box score. But it was 7-3 Cleveland. Cleveland is in the ALCS that begins tonight in New York against the Yankees. Ample threats. First run came in when pinch hitter Kerry Carpenter for the Tigers drove in Trey Sweeney with an RBI knock in the top of the 5th. Note, Carpenter did not start this game because the lefty Matt Boyd was on the hill. And again, for some reason, Kerry Carpenter is not allowed to see left-handed pitching.
He also couldn't move, really.
Yeah.
So that didn't help. But I don't think he wouldn't have started anyways.
No, he wouldn't have started anyways. Half inning later, Guardians load the bases against Tarek Skubal. Then Jose Ramirez comes to the plate. And Skubal hits J-Ram with 100 on the forearm to plate the first run. And it was one of those where it's man, that's J-Ram. That's J-Ram that got hit. Skubal, you could see clearly.
He felt terrible. He thought he may have broke something or whatever because he didn't. I don't think he saw exactly where he got him. It ended up more on the forearm.
It was meat of the forearm.
But it looked like the hand at first, and you could tell Skubal wanted to be sick at that moment.
Yeah.
He looked like he felt horrible.
Exactly.
We talk about it all the time. Most of the time, guys don't seem like they have much remorse for drilling a dude on the hand. He felt terrible. You could tell.
Exactly. And then a pitch later.
Yeah.
Lane Thomas did his thing. Did that check Skubal out just a little bit of the intensity? Maybe. How could you not be a little bit checked out after you hit a guy with 100 on the arm and you're man, you're a superstar in this game. I hope I didn't do that. And, oh, by the way, I just let up, the game-tying run. But first pitch after the J-Ram hit by pitch, Lane Thomas drilled the first pitch right over the heart of the plate. It was 97. It was middle, and he lifted it just over the left field wall. Grand slam it at 5-1. Top of the 6th, Jake Rogers cut the deficit to 3 with an RBI single. Then top 7, an RBI double from Colt Keith made it a 2-run game. But then after the stretch, Lane Thomas with a little looping one-hopper over to second to plate Stephen Kwan on an RBI single, and then Brian Rocchio. Bouncer up the gut in the 8th to make the final margin 4. The Guardians used 8 pitchers to get through 9 innings, and they win the game. They went to everybody and then some. So I say everybody. You think, they went to Smith, Heron, Gaddis, Clase. Yes, and a guy that debuted in September in Andrew Walters, and a guy that debuted in September in Eric Sabrowski. They went to everybody, and they mishmashed their way to the ALCS.
And Clase still went, too.
Yeah.
And Eli Morgan pitched 2/3 of an inning.
I forgot about Eli Morgan, too.
The fact that all of those guys threw, and you still needed Clase to go 6 outs, and I know that they're going with their best guy there, and they wanted to shut the door. They probably could have shut the door without Clase going 6 outs, but I don't blame them for not getting cute with it because the Tigers weren't giving away at-bats at the end. They scored in 3 straight innings, and then it was Clase that put up the zeros in the 8th and 9th. Right. But what I will say is that grand slam, obviously, that was the difference, and I mean that's the one that ended up really being the killer.
Yeah.
But I honestly felt like the Tigers were in a tough spot because even as they were climbing back and all of a sudden we're like, oh, this game might not be over, the bullpen ended up giving it back too. So I almost wonder that even if that grand slam doesn't happen, you could play the what-if game. I just don't know if the Tigers bullpen was going to be able to match the Guardians bullpen in this decisive Game 5. Will Vest looked very human in his third of an inning.
You're seeing Vest for the 4th or 5th time in a week.
Tyler Holton, they've seen a bunch.
Yeah.
Holton gave up another run, and then Brisky we only saw for 1 out. But you had 2 of the 3 relievers that came in giving up runs as well.
Yeah.
I think it was kind of the Tigers taking it as far as they could at that point.
Yes.
And especially with Kerry, by the way, gritty as hell. We talked about Freddie playing through the ankle sprain. I think it might be even harder to play through a very clear hamstring pull.
Yes.
Kerry looked like he was going to break into tears jogging to first. And I mean, I've been there before. You want to break into tears.
Let's relive the glory days a little bit.
No, this wasn't the glory days. This is I pulled a hammy.
Oh, this was like walking?
Running with friends and in the park throwing a football.
Did you do the
football. I tried to run it off and I wanted to cry.
I was going to say New York Run Club. Those are big now. Everybody wears black. They go get beers after to negate the run, and it's really
defeats
just
the
like
purpose.
it's single people meeting other single people.
No, so I tried to play through it, some flag football, and it hurt really bad. So I can't imagine trying to run through a pulled hammy the day after, too. Remember, this was the day after. Yeah. So but he was playing no matter what.
Right, you just woke up feeling like
ass. Oh, my gosh. So Kerry doing that, coming up with a big hit, incredible year from him, especially after being hurt, coming back, and then doing what he did in the postseason. Yeah. But, I mean, this was, I think, amazing run for the Tigers, and it really just felt like they took it as far as it could go there. Yeah, maybe a few things go differently. They win that, but, like, This was always a series where it felt like it was a little bit of an advantage to the Guardians. We talked about that.
They're the better team.
Tarek Skubal is you have Tarek Skubal, but Matt Vierling was hitting in the 2 or 3 hole for a lot of these games here. Yeah. That guy, and I don't want to disparage him, he had a nice year, but compare that to some of the other middle of the order hitters. And I know that the Guardians lineup is the most sexy in the world, but Matt Vierling in the 3 games, the final 3 games of the series, was 0 for 13 with 7 strikeouts. Yeah, there was a lot of reliance on guys that had really awesome years in their roles. Yeah. But all of a sudden in the playoffs, how much can you count on a Wenzel Perez? How much can you count on some of the players that, a Trey Sweeney, who did have some nice stretches for them? How much can you count on a Matt Vierling?
Torque was in the lineup for 5 games. Torque was very bad in the postseason.
Until he had 2 hits in this game. Yeah. But even then, there was a lot of reliance on guys that filled their roles nicely that needed to be middle of the order guys. I feel great about the Tigers moving forward. They're obviously in a great spot. Yeah. But again, it kind of felt like this was the end. Yeah. And credit though to the Guardians for outlasting them, because they put up a great fight, the Tigers, and I don't think they left anything on the table at all.
They didn't. I do want to push back on. I think they're in a great spot. I think they're in a great spot to put their foot on the gas. I hope they don't see this and say, "Oh, well, we got close. Let's just run it back with the same thing."
Oh, no.
I don't think you can do that.
Can't do that.
I really don't think you can do that. I think they can look at this team, say, "We need 2 other consistent starting pitchers." Who are those people going to be? Jackson Jobe is one of them. We might need to outsource another. I think they go into this winter with a plan to better this roster.
Yeah.
If they say, "Oh, well, we got there, and we were close to getting to the ALCS, we can hold serve, we can do this again." This is not a sustainable thing.
No, this team's not getting back, most likely not getting back to the ALCS if they don't add.
This was so clearly a fever dream run for the Detroit Tigers since August 11th, and I hope they see that. Mm-hmm. It's okay, we have pieces to do this, but we need to acknowledge that this was a fever dream run.
Yeah, and they can get back. It's like the Diamondbacks conversation we had, and the Diamondbacks did make moves to get themselves back there. Unfortunately didn't all go the right way.
Ewad's on that team now. Jock Peterson's on that team now.
And you thought Montgomery would be better. It didn't work out. But
Gino Suarez.
But they were smart to do that and push the chips forward and say, hey, no, we're not just going to magically get back there. But the great spot aspect is you found a lot of young pieces that are either locked up with a pre-arb deal, like a Colt Keith, or these guys are all going to be on the minimum. Like Justin Henry Malloy, Kerry Carpenter,
Jace Young,
Parker Meadows. So you're in a good spot there. You have a litany of arms as well beyond Skubal, Jobe. We talk about that they can trade from a Matt Manning, a Casey Mize,
Troy Melton, even if they want
Ty
to get
Madden got up there. That could be a guy that has intrigue. They've got a lot of pieces there where I think they can make this thing solid. And I mean, they're going to get a lot of money from this playoff run as well. And this is a weird free agency. We were talking about it. Yeah. I don't think they're in they're not screwed on television rights, right?
No, they're not screwed.
So this could be an opportunity for them to be able to actually spend a little bit in a market that might be pretty soft.
Yeah.
So I think they could be in a great spot if they approach it the right way.
Actually, I'm thinking they're a Bally Sports.
Oh, so
Detroit,
they might be screwed too.
They might be screwed because Bally is maintaining control of the Atlanta Braves telecast.
Right?
That might be it. Yeah,
whatever it is, though. I mean, obviously the playoff share helps, but I also think this is a team that has been able to spend money in the past, and the only big contract they have right now is. That guy that wasn't even a part of this team.
Kenta Maeda? Javi Baez.
Javi Baez. But Maeda's coming off the books, too. So,
was he?
Is he?
Is it a 1+1 with the club? I thought it was a 2.
I'm going to double-check that right now in the meantime.
I thought it was a 2. We are going to get to the NLCS Game 1 recap from last night. NLCS Game 2 preview and an ALCS Game 1 preview. I'm stalling. I think he's under control.
Oh, I'm so wrong. That's terrible.
Yeah, it's what? It's
$10 million for next year?
Yeah, there we go.
I am just trying to make this more positive.
The old 2-year deal for
but
Kenta Maeda.
It goes down from 14, though. So they clear up 4 naturally.
Front-load the Kenta Maeda deal.
Front-load the Maeda deal. No, they're still in a good spot. I stand by it. A couple of the right moves. I think Torque could be on the go, but that's for the playing GM series in the offseason.
Yeah. Well, we are going to get to the NLCS Game 1 here in a moment. Before that, quick break. Game 1 of the National League Championship Series that you watched last night, you could call a snoozer. I would say just marvel at the dominance of the LA Dodgers last night. 9-0 LA. Kodai Senga issued 3 straight walks after getting Ohtani to ground out to open the game. Max Muncy opened scoring with a 2-run single in the bottom of the first inning. Foot traffic again in the second. Ohtani bounced a ball through the right side of the infield to make it 3-0. He ended Kodai Senga's night. Final line on the Mets starter. Inning and a third, 2 hits, 4 walks, 3 earned runs, 30 pitches, 10 for strikes. Hold your thoughts on that because that is going to lead our analysis of this game.
I'm going to try.
3 RBI singles in the 4th minute, 6-0. Mookie's 3-run double down the third base line, cap scoring at 9-0. I think that was bottom of the 7th. Jack Flaherty. 7 shutout innings, 2 hits against him. He K'd 6, walked 2. Daniel Hudson and Ben Kasparius worked scoreless 8ths and 9ths, and the Dodgers have now matched a Major League record with 33 consecutive shutout innings in the postseason, only matched by the 1966 Baltimore Orioles in the World Series. That staff, Jim Palmer, Dave McNally. We're talking a Hall of Famer and a fringe Hall of Fame pitcher that was a 3-time All-Star. I think he won 2 World Series. But, man, like this is an all-time run that we see the Dodger rotation in bullpen on right now. I do want to lead with Senga. You and I were squirming watching Senga's outing. How he could see Ohtani for the second time was beyond me.
Beyond. I don't know how he was allowed to go out for the second inning. I mean, someone should have been getting hot immediately. And it's not just because Senga wasn't throwing strikes. He didn't look comfortable.
No.
He was guiding them in there. And then you could tell that, like, especially when he came back out for the second inning, he had a pitch clock violation. He had a wild pitch. Everything just – it looked like a guy that did not feel okay. And, I mean, to take it a step further, I don't think he should throw again in this series.
Ooh. Yeah.
I really do. And I don't want to be too
It's
reactive.
also like a how do you feel thing. Yeah.
There's no way he feels okay.
No.
This guy said, and what did I say to you when we were watching the game? Before it got started, I said, really admirable that he has come back despite missing all the time and the setbacks. He had 2 setbacks.
That was during the top of the second that you said that, and in the bottom of the second, he flipped 69 just below the zone to open the inning.
And we said, holy shit.
Yeah, and it's like, dude, really?
It just from off of just the visual alone, like not the fact that 20 of his 30 pitches were balls and he had a pitch clock violation and a wild pitch, and just off the visual of what he looked like. He looked like a guy that was throwing through discomfort. Yeah. I'm not saying hurt, but he looked like a guy that was throwing through just not being comfortable. And I'm sure they're going to talk to him and see how it goes. Maybe he can be in mop-up duty. But this guy can't be throwing important innings, I don't think.
Yeah.
Because you can't afford to find out again.
You're right. And he put them behind the 8 ball entirely. And you're right. Like, you see this, Game 6 is when you'd probably see Senga again if you want normal rest, maybe Game 5 or something like that. I guess Game 5. You can't do that.
You can't go down 2 runs or give up 2 runs or whatever it may be.
And you said, like, why didn't they just start Reed Garrett? David Peterson was a long guy in that bullpen today. It's like, why don't you start David Peterson? He had a 2.9 as a starter.
That's the thing that's interesting. So Senga looked good enough last time out where I guess I got it as an opener and then maybe somebody on the piggyback. But now for sure, he cannot open. He can't open. And this is not an indictment on Senga long term. I think he's a special arm.
Yeah.
He's just clearly not right now. So they've got enough arms where they can piece it together, but this is not an offense in LA that you want to give any sort of one advantage to, and 2, you don't want to get them feeling good before a game. If they see Kodai Senga as the probable, they're going to be drooling,
salivating,
before that game. So I just think from that alone, you got to go a different direction, and they probably will. I just was surprised to see him go back out for the second. It's all moot anyways because of what Jack Flaherty did.
Correct. It's hard to beat somebody when you don't score. And Flaherty is like the positive story from this game. I thought Senga was the easy, the layup, like, hey, you can point the finger there. They were off on the wrong foot right away because of the decision to start him.
Their top 5 hitters went in Kamado for 17.
Yeah, exactly. Flaherty was nails. And I think we started to realize it in the third, right? Because he worked too quick. And then in the third, you start to see that slider was just going to be perfect. And it's like, oh, you're putting it wherever you want, whenever you want, and you're going to work the fastball off of that, and they're going to pair beautifully. Like, he was bottoming out the slider when he wanted to. He was dotting the slider when he wanted to. This was a near flawless performance. And I know he walked 2. I know he allowed 2 hits. This was as good an outcome as you could have imagined for the LA Dodgers. And to take that a step further, I mentioned the 2 guys that came out of the bullpen to finish the game, Daniel Hudson and Kasparius. They don't factor into leverage whatsoever. I think Daniel Hudson's a hell of an arm. Kasparius is a 25-year-old rookie. They kept Trinan in the bullpen. I was going to say on the bench. In the bullpen. They kept Kopech in the bullpen.
And this is after a day's rest. So now they got 2 days rest on their best arms.
They have 2 days rest on their best arms. Unfortunately, Novesia on the CS roster, he got hurt coming out for his second inning, I guess. He got an out to end the 7th, and then Kopech got that clean 8th in Game 5. But Novesia, the fact that you can get 2 days rest for Trinan, for Phillips, for Kopech, that is beyond massive. I was expecting Edgardo Enriquez in this game.
I know. Well, especially after, I mean, you had some guys throwing plenty of pitches as well. And, Kopech had thrown 3 out of 4 days before the scheduled off day. So,
his last pitch was 102. Fuel.
So, I mean, they're in a really – I mean, Phillips threw 25 pitches.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it is really – in an advantageous situation for because it's bullpen game 2, right?
I think Buehler game 2.
Oh, sorry, Buehler game 2, and then bullpen's game 3.
Yeah, I think so.
And then Yama is.
Yeah, and then it would be Yamamoto. Yeah.
So Yamamoto's going game 4.
I would think so.
That's interesting. So I mean, they're in a really good spot. Especially if they want to have Buehler on a shorter leash, and then they can trust that they only need 5 from Buehler this time now because they've got their whole bullpen available.
Sure.
If they get more out of Buehler, then even more awesome for their setup because the bullpen game can be all hands on deck. But I mean, this just affords Dave Roberts so much more flexibility here when the only 2 relievers you use is the guy that you're just putting in there in these exact situations, either one way or another, if you're winning by 7 or losing by 7 in Kasparius, and then Hudson, like you said, he's not your top high leverage arm there.
Yeah, and he's good. He can throw in leverage, but they have 3 leverage arms that I would turn to before Daniel Hudson.
Absolutely.
And it's it's just amazing what they have done, and Flaherty is almost the icing on the cake to this insane stretch. And I mentioned they've tied a Major League record, 33 consecutive scoreless innings in the postseason. Think about who's tossed those. That was a bullpen day, and then a Yamamoto start that was going to be abbreviated, and then Jack Flaherty, who we mentioned was non-existent for 4 years before this year. Absolutely insane. What do you got?
Bullpen game tomorrow for the Dodgers.
Bullpen game tomorrow, so Buehler game 3 in New York.
So that's going into the bullpen game now. You have your whole bullpen available.
The point that I was going to make is now all of a sudden you look at tomorrow as a day that Evan Phillips needs work. And it's and now all of a sudden you get that because it's a bullpen game. So you assume Knack at the end. I don't understand why they're not just opening with Knack in these bullpen games, but I get it. They opened with Brazier in game 4. And that worked.
Yeah, I mean, I'll trust what they're doing, I guess, with the bullpen there, especially right now. But think about the timing of this thing now. So you have the bullpen game with the entire bullpen being rested tomorrow, or today, as people are listening, and then you got a day off.
Yeah.
So then you're going to have all your bullpen arms ready to go.
This is actually the perfect time to do the bullpen.
This is the best, yes.
Yeah.
It works out so nicely.
It turns out Dave Roberts is actually really damn smart. Next to Dodger fans should give him some credit.
No, you're going to have Dodger fans being like, no, it's from the front office.
I could have told you that.
But it works out really nicely there because this should be, in the way I looked at it, it's this was always a scheduled disadvantage for the Mets in Game 1, right? Where you have Flaherty, who's clearly the guy right now for the Dodgers, versus opener Senga.
You can't run out Manaea. You can't run out Sevy. You can't run. Yeah.
Game 2, I was going to say, is definitely scheduled advantage Mets. And it still is. But now it swings back a little bit towards the Dodgers because they've got their entire bullpen available. They've got guys that can go multiple innings. Yeah. They can go a lot of different ways. The silver lining out of getting blown out is that the Mets have a lot of their guys available too. But, I mean, there's a difference of having all of your top arms as the Dodgers available versus the Mets.
Right.
So it hedges the advantage a little bit. But, I mean, this is the one where, you've got an actual starter here, and you've got pretty much your best starter. Obviously, you've got to win anyways. You don't want to go down 2-0. But this is pretty damn important because you lost your scheduled disadvantage. Here's your scheduled advantage. you better capitalize if you're the Mets.
Right, and then you go to Game 3 being Sevy, Buehler, and then Game 4 would be Yamamoto and Quintana. I might have Sevy and Quintana backwards, but that sounds right. Yeah, I'm with you. Like this does feel as close to must-win as you can get in Game 2. And, dropping both in L.A., I know it's like, oh, yeah, they were the home team, yada, yada. At the end of the day, 2-0 is a very tough deficit to come back
Especially
against.
when you burn Manaea, who's like your guy right now. That's the guy that, if I need to win a ball game and I'm the Mets, I'd go to Sean Manaea.
Yeah, I think so as well. I mean, maybe Reed Garrett is the opener.
I do want to highlight one thing because it felt like the Mets were finally getting something going, and then Jesse Winker's base running mistake was just
that was
one of the worst displays of base running I've seen.
And there were like 5 checkpoints within that where I'm like, what are you thinking? What are you thinking? What are you thinking?
Well, I think once he was hung up a little bit, if he just sprinted to third, he might have had a close play.
Jogged to third. He came to a halt for some reason 5 feet away from the back. I don't know what that was.
I don't know what that was. I don't know.
We watched a brain fart.
Yeah, I guess so, like in real time. And that saved the game. I don't know, probably not. But they were getting something going there. And then he just runs right into an out and just kind of kills the rally there. I do want to also talk about Freeman real quick. 2 hits today.
Yeah.
The fact that this guy is hitting the way that he is, and I know you don't really need your ankle too much to hit, but the fact that he's that dialed in and then just running through the paint and then scoring from second, I mean, it's just grit. That's grit from a guy that's, does not need to be that gritty.
He has his World Series.
Yeah.
He has his World Series with the organization that brought him up.
Yeah.
He has his payday, frankly. He has accomplished everything, but the fact that he wants to do it with his team is pretty awesome.
And just going hard. And then Ohtani looks like he's dialed again.
Ohtani's dialed again, yeah. And my thing is, you never see Ohtani bark at umpires during the regular season, ever. He's the most respectful person in the world. I have seen him audibly, yell with a couple of bad calls on him in the last 2 games, Game 5 and Game 5. It's clear that this guy wants it, and it's so cool to see this guy in the position to be able to want it that bad. We haven't seen Trout in that position.
I want Trout in that position.
I know. It's we haven't seen Trout in that, and the whole thing on Ohtani was we haven't had the opportunity to see Ohtani in a position to want it this bad.
Yeah.
Appreciate the opportunity to see Shohei Ohtani want it this bad.
Yeah.
He's balling.
Yep.
And I know that the numbers were not great at the end of the DS. He's going to go on this tear, and yesterday was the start. I do believe that.
So you talked about the scoreless streak here.
Yeah.
I mean, this Mets offense has been magical since really the All-Star break.
Yeah.
I just don't see a world where Lindor, Vientos, Nimmo, and Pete Alonso and Starling Marte are combining for an 0 for 17.
I was going to say, the 2 hits came from Tyrone Taylor and Iglesias?
They had 3 hits.
Or Winker.
It was Winker, Iglesias, and Francisco Alvarez.
And Alvarez, okay.
So, I mean, that was your 6, 7, and 9 hitters that picked up hits. So, I mean, especially Lindor, he's going to get it. He had a couple good swings even that I mean, just missed.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be fine.
You are essentially warning people not to think that this is going to be a cakewalk after watching what they did.
Well, and also, our conversation's just been so Dodgers.
It has.
I don't want it to come off like we're eulogizing the Mets here. I don't think any different of the Mets. I thought this was going to be a loss, whether it was 5-0, 3-1, whatever it is. This is one where I really always felt like it was going to be the Dodgers, right? If next game obviously is a big
that's when you can fire up the start.
Then I might start eulogizing depending on how that goes. But I mean, it looks a lot worse. It's all the same, and I can guarantee these Mets players, they don't feel any worse as if it was 2-1. I think they lost game 1, and that's all it is to them, especially with the way that they're playing, with the way that they've continued to come from behind. I know a lot of people can be reactionary, and especially because it's the Dodgers, and then you get that confirmation bias of oh, here's the team that everybody knew would dominate their way through. I don't think it's going to be a cakewalk. My prediction was Dodgers in 7. Maybe it doesn't go. I don't know, but I don't think this changes anything. This was just a very lopsided game that also looks worse because they got 3 more in the 8th.
Yeah.
And that was when the Mets were kind of already mailing it in as well. I I'm not changing my perspective on this. I still think this is going to be a battle of all battles.
Yeah, I'm totally with you on that front. So why don't we just go ahead and preview Game 2 right now? We now learned that that's bullpen game against Sean Manaea. I'm with you. Scheduled advantage Mets. They have to bounce back at this point. And I know chaos menu is sexy. Chaos menu is like the thing that, is the unknown is fascinating to me. It just feels like it's really hard for 8 guys to have awesome outings against the New York Mets right now.
Yeah.
It's a different thing like against the San Diego Padres, and I do believe that. The Padres are like more talented of an offense than the New York Mets right now. But a hot usurps talent in the postseason.
Oh, yeah.
And
we
this
see that
Mets
time and time again.
Yeah, like they're not cold now because they got shut out. They're still a hot offense. I do think that Lindor can make his presence felt literally right away tomorrow night. I wouldn't be shocked to see that happen. I don't want to pull a yard card right now because you have to do that within the scope of an at-bat. It's like, oh, this guy's coming up. He's going to go yard. But I will say Lindor feels pretty yard cardy and Vientos feels pretty yard cardy.
Yeah, I mean, Vientos was the only guy that I thought looked like he cooled off in that game.
Yeah.
It's in a vacuum, right? It's not a big
it's
deal.
one game,
And
yeah.
I don't think he's worried about that either.
You're right.
And it just seemed like it was a tough matchup for him. Good
Yeah.
sliders team tend to get Vientos a little bit more, but yeah, this top of the order, I think I could see Vientos. It seems like every time he's due to come up with a big one, he does. So
We'll just do it.
So I'm with you. I think that, and Alonso too.
Alonso.
I think he's going to get one here.
Forgot about the guy that's putting up like 49 per 162.
It's crazy. So no, I still think that offense can get going. And we talk about how it's really tough, like for hitters when you're in a spot that, okay, they're going bullpen game. You have to see 8 different arms, and it's like, oh, okay, well now I got to crash course this arm. I got to crash course this arm. Yeah. They kind of know who they're going to be getting in this one. Yeah. They're going to prepare for Kopech. They're going to prepare for Phillips. They're gonna have everything they need to know on each of those guys. It's not as much of the bullpen chaos that we see in the other series, especially on the Tigers side. But beyond that, like you said, the more arms you go to, the higher chance that one of those guys doesn't have it. And I do think that the Mets are going to pitch better in this situation, especially with Manaea, where I don't think the Dodgers offense is going to go crazy. I think it's going to slow down here. Freeman didn't play back-to-back games last time. Remember they said it was gamesmanship that he was a late scratch and that he was never actually going to play back-to-back games. I don't know how they feel about it this time around, but it is left on left.
It is.
And it is a back-to-back game. No Freeman in the lineup makes a difference. I know he can't run, but this guy is raking still.
Yeah.
And, you take Freeman out, who hits for him? Chris Taylor? Chris Taylor has been an automatic out. Yeah. Everything I was saying about Matt Vierling, Taylor has been much worse in the postseason. Yeah. That goes all the way back to the last 2 years. Like, if it's Taylor or Kiermaier, whoever it is, Pages, it's a big drop-off from Freddie Freeman. We'll see if he's in the lineup. It could be moot, but if he wasn't doing back-to-backs a few days ago and he just ran his ass off yesterday,
right.
He might not be doing back-to-backs today as well, and that does make a difference, especially now with a tough lefty that, I also don't think will be the easiest at-bat in the world even for an Ohtani. It could slow him down a little bit.
Educated guess, before we see the lineup, obviously, educated guess is Kike to third, Muncy to first, Pages in center.
Probably makes sense.
I think that makes sense, especially you get Pages ABs against lefty, and this is not your father's left-hander. Sean Manaea is a nightmare for left-handed hitters. It doesn't matter if the splits are fine. That guy is crossfire. He is throwing from right field. You could pinch your neck from trying to pick up a ball out of his hands if you're hitting left on left. So I could see that. There's no doubt. I think if Freeman does sit, I'm not going to be shocked if Freeman sits. I'd be a little surprised if Freeman sits because at the end of the day, we are in the NLCS.
I agree.
I feel like this guy's just going to do it, and he's like, off day tomorrow, I'm good. Let's roll. But if he does sit, I think that's the way that they would do it, and Pages is the new guy in the lineup.
That's just fair. And if he does sit, the top of the order did him a lot of the damage. You got Kike Hernandez just continuing to be a postseason freak.
Kike's this guy in October.
Well, it's insane. Peyton Genis, our video extraordinaire. He brought up a great point because what is Kike's numbers in his career in the postseason? It's something outrageous.
I'll pull it up.
And whatever it is, I think it might be close to a 900 OPS and 100 plus plate appearances. Whatever it is. I don't know if he's had that good of a stretch at the big league level and 100 plate appearances at any point in his career. And that's what Peyton was saying. And I was like, that's actually a great point. Right. I would love to dig into that. What are the postseason numbers?
76 games. He's hitting .281 with a 900 even OPS.
Okay, so that's what I thought.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's had a 70-plus game stretch of a 900 OPS in his MLB career.
That's a great question.
And someone let us know. Like, I'll dig into that after the broadcast too. But like, that is a really interesting conversation. Like, the fact that he levels up to a different degree is one thing, but this might be better than like he ever is at any stretch of his career period.
So his best year was 2015. He played exactly 76 games with the same number, hit .307 with an 836 OPS. So he's like, take the best year of Kike Hernandez's career, where he was like optimized to see only favorable situations for him,
and then add 70 OPS points.
Right, add 70 OPS points against the best pitchers on the planet that are throwing with more adrenaline than they ever have throwing in that regular season.
It's incredible. He needs to get, like, everyone talks about Randy, but Randy's like still a really good player.
Yeah, Kike might just be that
Kike's
guy.
Like not that good during the regular season the last several years. And then he's great. He's great again. It's amazing.
He should not be employed by any team other than the LA Dodgers at this point. I know he was awesome for the Boston Red Sox in 22.
What did we say when the Dodgers got him? It was like, what's the point? I guess the vibes. Like, it wasn't even from a baseball perspective, it made no sense.
Yeah, but like we have our answer. Like, it was a vibes
thing.
And
and then this.
Yeah.
Because he becomes a different player.
It's for celebrations with Gavin Lux.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know. Think about that however you may want to. Quickly, want to preview the American League Championship Series as well. This is Yankees guards. They get going in New York tonight. That is Rodon and Cobb. Game 2 is the one that I'm fired up for on Tuesday.
You're not pumped for Rodon Cobb?
I'm good. That's Bybee and Cole at 7:38. Bybee and Cole.
Please let him go 5+.
Yeah.
Talking about Bybee, obviously.
You fire me all the way up. But Cobb Rodon is interesting to me because Cobb is going to go 3 innings at most. And Rodon, I want to see you do backflips again when you strike out the side in the first.
Gosh.
But I need to see a clean second.
The early celebrating was, and I get it, be fired up.
That was biking and that was barking in like an early bite.
Yeah,
I will say, but like it was all bark and some nibble.
Yes,
like that was kind of it.
Yeah.
It's like once you got acclimated,
you can't be like he was like walking around strutting his
stuff.
Yeah,
I hear you, but like keep that fucking vibe in the fourth, man. Like it was a tough outing to watch.
Maxed himself out too early.
I think he might have gotten checked a little bit. Like I think that could have been an ego check to get him like, oh, I'm not going to do that shit now.
Yeah.
Like I need to be a dog, and I need to not show it.
Yeah,
and that might be a better road.
I'm very interested to see what, because I mean, in that first inning, he looked like the peak Rodon that we'd seen.
He looked amazing.
He looked like the Rodon on the Prove It deal.
Yeah,
like he looked like that. So I mean, try to harness that. Question for you: if Alex Cobb goes 3 innings of 3 hit ball, 2 runs, 1 walk, 2 Ks, do you take that?
No.
That's what he did last time at Detroit.
Yeah, that's disappointing.
That's not good enough?
No.
So what do you want out of Alex Cobb?
I want 3 innings of 1-run ball.
Okay.
I don't care how you get to it. He could walk 5. I want 3 innings of 1-run ball, and I want to turn it over to Cade Smith, who might get 12 outs because he's just leveling up every freaking time, and he's amazing. I will not be happy at all with 3 innings of 2-run ball.
It's valid.
Like that run is massive.
Yeah.
Man. At the end of the day, like every run matters, especially in the front third of a baseball game.
Yeah.
In the postseason, and I'll be really disappointed if he allows multiple runs again, because you look at a Boyd. Boyd has turned it on.
Oh, man.
In a level that like I did not expect to see Matt Boyd at. Now, it might have been helpful that he was facing his former employer, but Cobb should be able to turn it on like that and say, hey, you know what? However I need to get to it, I'm going to limit the damage through 3.
Could you see a similar approach where, I mean, Boyd, which is crazy, Peter had the over strikeout prop on MGM for Boyd.
For Boyd?
And
what was it?
I think it was 4, 3.5. It was 3.5. He ended up only going 2 innings.
But he K'd 5?
K'd 5.
Yeah.
So are they going to let Cobb go more than 2 innings? Or is it going to be a 2-inning thing and then they hand it over? I just don't think you can do that to your bullpen.
Do you have the
this
pitch
early?
Counts? Do you have the pitch counts in front of you
on that final game?
Yeah.
Cade Smith threw 31 pitches.
Yeah, like I think he could just do that again because he has a day rest.
But then you have the next game, so you just cut him off there, I guess.
Yeah, because you got Bibee.
Yeah. But then you better let Bibee go longer. This is going to be very strategic.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I think if Cobb is cruising, then, of course, great. Have him go third.
Get a third. Yeah.
But Boyd was cruising. I know that was a decisive Game 5.
That was an all-hands-on deck.
Yeah, that's an all-hands-on deck, and they were willing to do it. So I think it's a little different in Game 1. Maybe they try to get another inning or two out of a Cobb. Because, I mean, Clase also went 24 pitches. And, like, yeah, I don't think you just want to subject yourself to all hands on deck if you don't necessarily need to. But there's a real scenario where Cobb just gets teed off on.
Can I hot take theater real quick?
Always. That's what this is for.
Yeah, this is what this is for. I forgot about that. Judge first inning homer.
I don't think that's hot take.
Yeah, I think it is.
Does it go in the bullpen?
It's a homer. I hope it goes in the bullpen for our people that need to get in on the MGM action. But Judge first inning homer is my hot take.
I like it.
Like I think
Cobb splitter that like stays up.
Yeah, like just something, a mistake.
He saw one go through last game.
He saw a hit go through. Yeah, and like
extra base hit.
Yeah, and I feel like that guy hears it. He compartmentalizes it incredibly well.
Yeah.
But this could be such a good middle finger to the people that are like, oh, Mr. Low Leverage.
We can't play in the
playoffs.
playoffs.
This could be amazing.
He's too good of a hitter, man.
He's the best hitter on the planet.
Yeah, I'm not worried.
It's inarguable.
I like that call. But I will say, like, this is not going to be an easy start for Rodon. Quan, like, he's still gonna battle out there. Like
he hit over 500 in the DS.
He had 3 hits in a game that Tarek Skubal started.
Yeah.
So lefty thing doesn't matter. Fry looks like he's settled in. Jose Ramirez from the right side is a problem.
GGs.
And then Lane Thomas is dialed in. Yeah. So I mean that top 4, like, I know that the Royals have Bobby Witt Jr. This is a tougher top half of the lineup to get through, right? Yeah. So in the way that they have grinded out. Dangerous, and then grind it out, and then some other dangerous guys even towards the later part of the lineup. Like, This is a different matchup for the Yankees, and I wouldn't be shocked if they get punched in the mouth early, especially with Rodon. Like, it's going to be very fun to see how he responds to this spot here. And, I hope he throws well for his sake. I hope both starters throw well because they both had their own kind of journeys here over the last year or so. But, there's a chance where I think both offenses get going early, and that'll make it even more fun because then it becomes even more of a chess match. And I'll tell you what, bullpen chess match, I know Boone's been around a little bit longer, but who do you trust to have a better feel? I think Vogt.
Give me Vogt.
So
I will say I think the Yankee offense is legit, and I saw a pass and tweet out that Boone's announced rotation order was Rodon, Cole, Schmidt, Heel, and we immediately went for our CS predictions, and you said Yanks in 6. I shaved a game off of that. I'm like, this team might be too good. And I hope that's not the case. I hope we get 7, and I hope all of them are one-run games. But at the end of the day, you run out Rodon, an $160 million pitcher at the end of the day. Cole, who coming into this year was the best pitcher on the planet, and going into next year will be a top 5 pitcher on the planet. You run out Clark Schmidt, who has clearly found something this year.
Yes.
And you run out Luis Heel, or opponents are hitting like 040 against. I just don't know I don't know if there's lineup depth there to deal with those 4 starting pitchers in 4 consecutive games. And I love the point about the front half, but like the back half, like I'm thinking about Luis Heel against Brian Rocchio, and I feel really good if I'm a fan of the Braves.
Yeah, and not only that, the starting pitching advantage is just so huge.
Yeah, it's massive.
The deeper that it gets into a series, okay, the Guardians fight, great. The deeper it gets, the more taxed the bullpen is.
The thing. Fighting looks like 30 pitches from Clase in a night, and fighting looks like 35 pitches.
And I think that's how they
Smith.
get a game or two.
Yes.
But then how do you keep doing that when they're taxed? So like that's where I think it's huge. Like let Bibee have some length here. Yeah. Like let's see what happens. If you get burned because the third time through the lineup thing, fine. Yeah. But I think they got to try to be a little bit different. It's a 7-game series now. Maybe that was always the plan. 5-game series versus 7. Okay, we're going to let our starters have a little bit more length. Yeah. I'm just so excited to see how the Guardians approach this whole thing because I do think that needs to be approached differently than, one, the team, because they're matching you with the same bullpen chaos, and 2, it's a 7-game series this time around, and you have a starting pitching disadvantage.
Right.
So you need to make sure that you don't compromise your bullpen advantage too quickly.
Yeah. Wow. I'm fired up.
I am excited,
these, man.
I have one more pitch for you before we go.
Okay.
So we didn't mention Reese Olson either. We're back on the Tigers thing. I was really impressed with Reese Olson in this playoffs. I know they have him a piggyback role.
Yeah.
That guy needs to be in the rotation next year.
Okay, yeah. So you go into next year, you say
The roster resource.
what is it?
It's just Tarek School and Reese Olson.
Oh,
Because you got
those
Job
are
in the
two
bullpen.
starters. When you have Kaider Montero in the bullpen as well.
Kaider was good, man. Like
So that's
Brant Herter was good.
We clowned Peter and I clowned the Kaider Montero outing because it was a 1-2-3 first and 6 pitches, and they didn't send him out there for the second. I'm like, we're less than a month removed from him throwing a Maddox. they said no, that's it after the 6th pitch inning. Like they were so committed to the bit that they just didn't do it. But going into next year, Skubal, Job, Olson, Montero, I think, has earned a spot at this point, at least to open the year. And then I think a free agent.
Yeah. And then the bullpen's clearly good.
Yeah, and you have a long man already there in Ty Madden.
You've got Herter, who's clearly a guy.
Yeah, Herter, a long man.
Yeah.
Has Herter earned a spot in that rotation?
I think he might have earned a look there, too.
Okay, so,
and
here
then
you
Sawyer
go.
Gibson Long.
Yep.
They've got capital here.
And
Manning,
Melton's going to be in
Mize.
triple. Yeah. Casey Mize, my guy.
He's a person.
How did I forget about my guy?
How could you forget? He's not terrible.
That's so sad.
So I'm just fascinated. Please spend on a short-term shortstop. Make a trade for a short-term. I don't know what's out there.
Yeah.
Figure something out. This team could be there. So I just had to make one last little pitch there because I know we got some Tigers fans that are dialed in. That we're probably like, oh, you didn't give us the whole. They might not even be listening right now. They might be checked out.
No, they might be down. They're on a Red Wings
yeah,
season.
yeah.
Happy hockey season. I don't know anything except my guy Bedard is nasty. I heard that.
Yeah, he's good. I heard.
I saw the Instagram clips. Get your merch. Arm has a sticker on his laptop. I'm wearing nothing. Arm's got a shirt. Again, I'm wearing nothing.
Shocker.
I hate the company. Everything you need is in the episode description. We have phenomenal stuff editorially going out on justbaseball.com. If you're going to listen to the call-up in a given week and you want an update on the Arizona Fall League, I would recommend this week is the one to do that.
Yes.
We're in Arizona. We just sat 5 feet behind Jack Caglione, who
is a large human being.
As physically intimidating as anybody in baseball.
Watch Moises Ballesteros put some crazy swings on balls.
Nuts.
And I'll be writing notes every single couple days on justbaseball.com on just my takeaways, everything I'm seeing from prospects. We saw Andrew Painter's return to the mound for the first time in nearly 600 days. He hit 100 miles per hour. Philly's top prospect there. Really excited to see that. That helps the Phillies' outlook next year, too.
Oh, yeah.
Painter throwing 100. I mean, a lot of fun stuff out here. So stay tuned on the call-up and on justbaseball.com to keep you updated with everything going on there, especially if your team's out of the hunt. You got some prospects here that are doing some fun things.
No doubt. All right. We'll talk to you tomorrow.